Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Howdy, Red O'Loughlin here. We're on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And my topic today is staying healthy as we age. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the slides. Slide one here. Okay. Staying healthy as we age. We're live streaming. This is not a podcast, although down the road there will be some podcasts that will fall off of the show. But we're on Amazon Fire, E360 TV, YouTube, quite a few channels on YouTube, Android TV, social media, and more. I'm simulcasting on a couple of my own Facebook pages. And all the programs I do here on Talking Heads are for awareness and education. My website is redolaughlin.com. It's red like the color R-E-D. O'Loughlin, no apostrophe on the website, OLAUGHLIN, redolaughlin.com. All my social media, books, blogs, videos, everything is there. So please jump in and see what's there and enjoy yourself. Who am I? Before I tell you who I am, YouTube, USA Global TV, all the shows live and archived. That's a good place to find anything you're looking for, either a new show coming out that you want to see live or just go in there and look for an old one. But all of the shows are there on YouTube. I've been involved heavily in root cause analysis in my corporate field. Did a lot of reliability analysis, failure analysis. We'd get engineers around a table and figure out how can this particular product that we're making fail? What makes best sense? If it's going to fail this way, what can we do about it? And so from a failure perspective, I was in a thing called Taproot that talks about, why did it fail? Whether it's somebody's lack of training, lack of documentation, errors in documentation, missing whatever. But you go down about 7 levels of why did this fail? Okay, fine. Why did that fail? Okay. Why? And so you go down why enough. Usually they say about 7 levels. And you can figure out, okay, if I fix this, this should never occur again. And in many, many cases, that actually worked. But again, sometimes you stop too early and the root cause is still there. But I do this in my own practice nowadays as a researcher. Why? Because there's so many things that we can learn about how things go in our bodies. I've referred to this a couple times prior to today's show as we don't know what we don't know. So if I don't know something, why not do a little bit of research? So I go to the cellular level in the body, what's going on biologically, what's going on chemically. And I try to take that information and translate it so that people can make better decisions. They can talk to their doctors, their healthcare professionals, to nutritionists. They can ask intelligent questions of, okay, what about this? If I take this and this, maybe you need to talk to your pharmacist. Doctors don't always know the different prescription meds interfaces. So your pharmacist may be actually one of the best people for you to be talking to if you're on a lot of prescription meds. But I try to focus on what helps and also what makes things worse. I consider myself an author of decision support manuals for aging. Used to be just health and wellness, but my focus is longevity, aging, and the kinds of things that I write are decision support manuals. So that's my moniker for 2026. As I said, I'm a researcher, but I've never been in the medical or pharmaceutical fields. Chemistry is my first degree. I got 5 different academic degrees, 7 professional certifications. And I primarily worked in the areas of quality engineering, reliability engineering, and logistics engineering. I retired with 31 years as a Navy captain. I flew for 16 years, naval aviator. And I was very fortunate to get to 62 countries And I did get an invitation to Vietnam and Bosnia at the beginning and end of my career. But I look primarily for cause and effect relationships, because if you treat the cause, you generally might be able to solve the problem. But if you're treating symptoms, the cause is there. It's never changed. It may be getting worse. And why treat symptoms when you could treat a cause? I don't know. Anyway, been married 57 years, couple kids, three grandkids, one great grandson, and we're going to his party here in less than 2 weeks. He's 2 years old. Best-selling author, 7 books, independent publisher. I've published over 50 books for people. A distinguished Toastmaster, writer. I have over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn, about 1,500 on my website. And international TV host. This past year, I was ranked number 3 on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and super proud, super happy about that one. Okay, staying healthy as we age. Again, this information is educational purposes only. 2 of the books I've written, The Joy of Ageless Health and Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging, encompass the kinds of things that I'll be talking about today. So those would be 2 good sources for you. Disclaimer. All my shows, today's and everything I've done in the past, is all educational and informational. Does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The reference compounds strictly in a research context. Consult qualified medical professionals about your health. So don't make it. If you're on prescription meds, absolutely don't make a change, because you never know what can happen. So please, if you have a problem and you think this might be a good thing to do, talk to somebody before you just jump in and do it. Again, awareness first, education second, third, take action. So between education and taking action, you really need to consult someone. What do I fear most about growing old, getting older? Depending on others, being a burden. I don't want to have somebody there that's going to be changing my diaper for 5 years because I have no control. But that's my dad, his worst fear was dying. It didn't matter that other things could happen. That was his fear. Everybody has a different fear. Some people fear cognitive decline, health issues, mobility, finances. This is not a finance show, but finances is definitely a reason why we fear getting older. We don't have enough money to take care of us. Loneliness, isolation, living, 100 years ago, grandparents lived with a family. That doesn't happen anymore. You can't even get a sister or brother sometimes to live together because it's just impossible. So you end up in a facility someplace, and that's expensive, but it's also isolation. It's a lot of things. And if you're not accepting the environment you're in, it makes it even worse. But there's so many reasons why people are afraid of getting old, and most of them are well founded. There's I can't argue, but we do have some real concerns: arthritis, diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, cataracts, something fairly easy to fix. Vision, hearing, dental issues, sometimes, and not always easy to fix, not always fixable, but always expensive, no doubt about that. Depression, mental health, dementia, so many different aspects of dementia that are in there. The cost of healthcare, bone fractures, frailty, falls, cancer, many of them, loneliness, respiratory disease, obesity, organ disease, driving at night. It may not sound like a big deal, but if you can't drive at night, that kind of limits your mobility and limits your involvement with other people, family. But those are just a few of why we have legitimate concerns about aging. So if those are your concerns, what can you do about it? Well, I don't know. Oh, we don't know what we don't know. So what do we know? We know that this is a couple years, like 2024, 2023, I can't remember which, but heart disease in the United States is roughly 20%, a little under 700,000 people died. Cancer, roughly the same percentage, just off by a couple points. Again, a little over 600,000. Accidents, 200,000, 7%. Respiratory disease, a little less, 5%, under 150. But it turns out that medical errors, misdiagnosis, wrong medicine, too late in getting the diagnosis. Medical errors account literally for 250,000 people a year dying. And it's one of those things, yes, it's preventable, but it's just not an area that we focus a lot of time on. So you get heart disease, you get cancer, and then you have medical errors. That really sounds funny to a degree, that why would we have that many 250,000 people dying a year of just simple things that are controllable. Then you have things that maybe I have heart disease, cancer, and respiratory disease, pneumonia. So there's multiple conditions. During COVID, we learned about comorbidities, high blood pressure, obesity, etc. And they compound and conflict and contribute to other things. So we got a lot of contributing factors outside of just the plain, I got cancer, I got a liver disease, I got whatever. So what are some of the contributing factors? Stress, something that's in our life every day, but a lot of people fail to accept the fact they reach out and grab a hold of that stress and they just will not let go. And it's there. It's easy to address. Are we not aware of it? Yeah, I think most of us are. We just don't take the time for it. We don't think it has that big an impact on our lives. If you've been with me the last several shows, we talk about how much stress affects the cellular level in the body and the kinds of diseases it can cause. It's a pretty potent contributor. Toxins, personal care products, we put it on the skin, nanotechnology, drives through the skin at the speed of light. And now all of a sudden we got the stuff inside our bodies, the foods we eat, lots and lots of, I'm not even talking about the environmental toxins that you breathe in every day. But we just have a lot of toxins out there. Understanding what do we really know? I talked about we don't know what we don't know. Well, that's a contributing factor. If I don't know and I keep doing the same thing wrong, something's going to happen down the road. Sometimes I don't have transportation to get to where I need to get on a regular basis. That can be a problem. Sanitation, we take it for granted. Some places it's just not up to speed or just not as the quality that we want. Education, I think the better educated people know that they need this and this and this, but sometimes they still ignore it for whatever reasons. The complexity of what's going on, the misinformation. During COVID, I think there was so much misinformation out there in so many different areas. Training, sometimes you end up with a doctor, sometimes you end up with somebody who's in training with a doctor. I've seen quite a few people in training with my dermatologist. He'll ask permission to bring them in, and then we'll go over whatever. But they're a doctor, and they're trying to get some experience in, skin issues, and so come on and learn. Language. If you work with somebody, foreign culture, foreign language, maybe their English isn't so good. The translation, the understanding may not be there. That's a contributing factor. Oh, did I hear that right? I don't know. Overlapping symptoms. My daughter had a couple. This one or this one, but you can't have both. Well, it turned out she had both. And the doctor she went to for this one, no, because she has these other ones, that's not it. This doctor is because she has these other ones, that's not it. Neither one of them said, maybe it's two of them at the same time. Rare, but it happened. So overlapping symptoms can be there. And you cross one out because you say, that's not part of this, and you're focused on one area. Customs, cultures, maybe they don't believe in going to the doctor. It's just, I don't need it. I feel fine. Understaffing. You go there and you got to wait and wait and wait. Don't want to do it. The equipment isn't as good as it can be. Sometimes you can't get access to the people you want to get access to. Okay, fine. I have a problem. Here it is on my arm. Okay, in 2.5 months I can get you in. Well, that's an access issue. Lots of things are contributing factors to why we have problems as we age. Over the last 6 months, I've covered the topics of hallmarks of aging and hallmarks of health. And they're very specific, like a dozen hallmarks of aging, this and this and this and this and these. And as I look at those things, all of them are valid. There's not one that's better than the other one. But I think as we get older, one of the ones that stands out to me is communications, the cellular communication from the cell to the cell. It goes up there and says, hi, how are you? And the other cell says, what'd you say? We have loss of cellular communication. So the message is there. It's getting where it needs to get, but the cell doesn't get the message because it doesn't understand. Lots of things we can do to address that. But cellular communication affects our repairs. It affects a lot of things in our body. So if I'm looking for the hallmarks of health, the same thing. These are the things that keep you healthy. And when it comes down to it, there are a lot of different causes of aging and health and getting us to health, but we don't control. We actually can control, but we don't. The bottom line is our daily habits, the everything we do every day, eat, exercise, stress management, sleep, all those things that we do, we call lifestyle choices. They're the decisions we make. they actually control the hallmarks of aging. If you look at what can I do to counter this hallmark, this lifestyle choice. What am I looking at to improve my health? This lifestyle choice. The lifestyle choices we make every single day, our daily habits, are what controls what our health is going to be like in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So our actions and non-actions. Doing nothing is an action. Uh, we are in a land of information. We can go online and look up just about anything you want. If you want more detail, AI will drive down as far as you want to go, as much as you know. But in reality, little is sought. Okay, I got this problem. I can go online. Well, some people actually do. They go online, they self-treat themselves. Well, is that smart? Maybe keep a log, keep a record, a journal of what's going on. What did I eat? What did I do? What stresses in my life? And now you can go to somebody and say, here's bumpity, bumpity, bumpity. Here are the things that are going on. These are the symptoms I'm seeing at these times. So maybe that's really a little bit more of you need than self-diagnosis. But self-diagnosis can certainly help. There's absolutely no reason in the world that you can't use that. But again, take the information and use it appropriately. I love Alice in Wonderland. When she gets down the fork in the road, says, which way do I go? And the rabbit, or rabbit, whatever, Cheshire Cat says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Well, that assumes you know where you are. In Alice in Wonderland, you're at their fork in the road, but you aren't at a fork in the road. You don't even know if there is a fork in the road. We assume we know where we are, but we don't. And initially, when I looked at this, it says 22% of Americans don't get annual physicals. I said, that sounds, so I found another 2, 3, 4. It turns out the number could be as high as 62%. 2 out of 3 people every year don't get an annual physical, but 9 out of 10 believe they're important, especially for our future health, but we still don't get them. 1968, many years ago, was the last year I didn't get an annual physical. I was 22 years of age at that time. I was getting ready to graduate from college, going to the military. 1969, actually 1968 was, I did get a physical. 69, I said I do to the Navy, went in boot camp, and 31 years, annual flight physicals every year, basically a GP, dental, eye, ear, and heart, everything was checked, even skin. I get out, retire in 2000, and for the last 25 years, I have a GP, I have a dental specialist, doctor, I have an eye doctor, I have an ear doctor, I have a heart doctor, I have a skin doctor. I got more doctors than I know what to do with. But it's part of the way things are set up outside in civilian life. On the inside, everything is kind of integrated. But in general, up until about 6 years ago, I thought my health was pretty good. I really did. I had a full cardiac workup at around 72, 73 years of age. No prescription meds, nothing needed. Everything was fine. A year later, so a souvenir I brought back from Vietnam called Agent Orange started interfering with my heart and other things. And all of a sudden, now I'm on 3 eye medicines and a couple, 3 heart medicines. You get older, these things happen. Am I working to try to get off of them? You betcha. Doing a lot of research. What can I do to get off of this one? Well, in some cases, I may not be able to, but at least I understand why I can't and what's there. It doesn't mean that next year there may not be something better that's out there that I don't know about. But I prefer the natural approach over the prescription approach any day of the week. But we wear out over time. You can start seeing it a little bit very subtly in your 30s. In your 40s, that's really a turning point, somewhere in the mid 40s. You get started really and truly start seeing rapid shifts in your metabolism. You don't lose weight as fast as you do. Your endurance isn't there. But by the time you get into your 50s, you're starting to see problems with strength, balance, flexibility, endurance. Those degrade a little bit. They begin to fade. So by the time you get in your 60s, I've really lost some of my strength, my balance, etc. Our metabolism slows down again. So that metabolic slowdown now becomes much more noticeable. The risks of various kinds of diseases increase. You start getting into your 70s, and I mentioned earlier, the cellular repair, because of the signaling that goes on between the cells, is not being interpreted properly or at all. So I start having problems now. My repair mechanisms aren't working well. So a lot of things add up, and they accumulate over time. So why do people fail to get a physical annually? Most of the time, they just feel okay, don't need it. Sometimes it's cost. Sometimes I just don't have the time. Convenience, fear. They might find something I don't want them to find. Procrastination. If I had to pick one, I would get a physical every year. But procrastination, I think, is a big part of my life because there's just a lot of things I just let it go, let it go. I can get to it later. Sometimes we have other doctors and we assume because I have this doctor, they're going to know about all these other things that I don't tell them about. So there's some level of redundancy there. Cultural issues. Some just have some issues with the medical process in general. Insurance can be a big one. Lack of perceived benefit. If I'm paying this much, I'm not getting much out. Why go? Misinformation, particularly social media nowadays. Sometimes you have a negative experience. Hey, if it's negative, go to someone else. Um, Self-testing, interpretation. We have social media, we have this, we have that. I go to AI, look it up. Okay, fine. I can do this. Well, that might work, that might not work, but keep a record. At least you had something you made a decision on at a certain point in time. If it doesn't work out, now that history is there, 6 months, a year down the road, you say, hey, doc, I tried this and this and this because of that. Now you have something to say what you did, what worked, what didn't work. And sometimes, you just get old. I don't need it anymore. Nothing's gonna. If it happens, it happens. And Lord, please take me. Uh, and those are some of the reasons people don't get an annual physical. Does a 20-year-old need an annual physical every year? Nah, probably not. However, if the family history is such, or maybe the career, maybe you're a police officer, maybe you're military, maybe you're an airline pilot, depending on what the risk and the environment you're in, maybe you do need a physical in your 20s. Baby boomers and Gen X, about 70% of them try to get an annual physical every year. It's important to them. But millennials and Gen Z, they're saying about 30% or less actually get an annual physical. However, the millennials and Gen X have a higher focus on mental health than they do on physical health. Strange. Healthcare professionals have a moral obligation to treat a problem if they're aware of it. So if you never tell me you have angina or this really bad ache in your back, they're not going to treat it because they don't know. But if they know about it, now all of a sudden they have to treat it because that's part of their profession. So I have AFib. I've had it since the 80s. Showed up on every flight physical I ever was on. Never been a problem. Still not a problem. But because I went to my cardiologist, I have AFib, I got to take a pill for it because that's their standard of care in the United States. Sometimes the standard is give a pill, sometimes it's surgery, sometimes it's something else. But they have an obligation to treat it. Now, do we have an obligation to take the pills? We should. It's for our own health. But some people don't. That's their mindset. But you lived with something for years. It's not a problem. I've lived it forever. Well, what about those people that all of a sudden they go to the doctor and find out they have a tumor inside their stomach the size of a baseball? Well, I've lived with it for decades, but finally it takes literally decades to go from cells to something you can actually measure if you had the equipment and you knew where to look, to something that's growing and could be found if there was some symptom indicating it. But we go years later, now it's getting to be a pretty good size alien structure inside your body. And then all of a sudden now it starts to create a problem. And then they said, well, if you come to us last year, we could have handled this, but you have about 6 months to live. Well, you've lived with it for decades. Now you're not going to live with it for another year. It's part of our aging. It's our mindset. It's our mentality. But once your doctor knows, change is on the way. You can go from 0 or a couple meds a day to a dozen or more. It just seems to blossom. And that's the problem when you start having a lot of meds. They interact with each other, and that's not always well known what interacts with what else. And sometimes the food choices you have can interact with the meds. There's just a lot of things that interact. And when you start taking multiple meds, now you have the option, the risk of higher problems. We've talked about aging issues. Well, I've mentioned before, aging and health is tied to our lifestyle choices. 60% of our health, the quality of our life, is tied to lifestyle choices, according to the World Health Organization. Our behavioral accounts, our behaviors account for about almost half of the aging issues we have. The environment we live in, about 20%. So and these things overlap a lot because, just because it's a lifestyle choice or behavior, an environment or genetics, all of them have some level of overlap. They're saying 20-30% to genetics and medical care. But when you start looking at genetics, in reality, about 5% of the people really have a genetic problem that could be predisposed to. But epigenetically, due to your lifestyle choices, the switches can be turned on or off depending on the lifestyle choice actions that you take. 75% of longevity is tied to environmental lifestyle choices and genes. That's a pretty good number. But when you look at it, let's pull the disease aspect out of it. And 80% of disease that is age related is preventable. And if you just address the issues of inflammation, oxidation, you can't address the infection issues there. Yeah, those things come, COVID, whatever. But inflammation, relatively easy to address. Oxidation, again, if you catch it, you can start doing some stuff. I like to look at it from an 80-20 rule, Pareto principle. 80% of the problems we have are caused by 20% of whatever's out there. So if I want to focus on the 80% of the things that in my health, I really need to look at those 20% of things that affect the aspects of it. So that is the lifestyle choices. And when I start looking at the 20%, it'll affect the 8% that will result in discipline, fun, escape, good habits. So you ask yourself, which lifestyle choice gives us the best ROI? Well, good question, but it's not always the right question. You can't suboptimize health. What do I mean by that? You can't pick eating or exercise or stress management or sleep and concentrate on that and let everything else go to hell. You have to concentrate on each of them. They all are intertwined with each other, and working one, you're suboptimizing everything else. So if you are not doing any exercise, but you're taking care of everything else, maybe that's a clue. If you're not doing any stress management, exercise really accounts for a little bit of stress management. So maybe that's kind of covered there. If you're not getting good sleep, maybe that's a really big clue, because a lot of stress in our lives affects the quality of our sleep. So many of them interact with each other. If I'm not getting the nutrients I need to the cells in my body, the mitochondria are not producing the levels of energy that my body needs, I start having fatigue and brain fog and all sorts of stuff. So every aspect of it is needed. But the nutrition, to me, is probably, if not, it's the one thing we do every day. We breathe, we eat. That nutrition feeds every single cell in our bodies. We need what we have to have, 30 or more micronutrients or nutrients on a daily basis. How many of us get that? Very few. I mean, you look at something like magnesium, vitamin D, calcium. There's so many of them in there that it's either half the people get them, 90% of people don't get it. There's just a lot of things in our healthcare, our environment, that we have a habit we don't know, so we don't go out of the way to get blueberries, or we don't go out of the way to have more greens in our diet, or we make sure that we don't have toxins in the foods that we buy. Sleep is when our bodies repair itself. So if you're not getting good sleep and you don't have enough sulfur-laden products that help that repair mechanism in the body, that becomes a problem. I'm not getting the repairs my body needs. Stress management causes so many different diseases in the body, or exacerbates them. And so stress management can be something, and you're doing your breathing exercises. You do 5 minutes now, a couple hours later, do 5 minutes, set your egg timer. You're working on the computer, goes off in an hour. Get up, walk around, get away from the blue light on your computer, the focus that you're doing, clear your mind. Stress management has a lot of things. You're driving home, get stressed out even more. So take time and do something. YouTube, probably one of the best places to go. I like EFT, emotional freedom techniques. I think that's one of the best ways to do stress management. But breathing works very, very well. Do things that help, not hinder our immune system. So many things will challenge our immune system. So do the things that help, don't do the things that don't help. That's a pretty good way of putting it. Hygiene, critical. Inactivity, no physical exercise is kind of a slow rock moving downhill. You're not going to see anything for a while, and all of a sudden you're going to see, I just don't have the strength, I don't have the endurance, and then pretty soon the muscles are going to be hanging off your arms, your neck, everywhere else. Sarcopenia sets in, and some of the big longevity gurus around, they're thinking exercise is the absolute number one way to extend longevity. Uh, I think it's a factor. I don't think it's the main one, but a lot of people think that. Vaccines, well, we know from COVID that not all vaccines are created equal, and a lot of problems there getting something out immediately within a couple of years. Doctor's visits, I think they're absolutely critical. If you don't know where you are, where are you going? In order to get to where you're going, you have to know where you are. So even if it's every 2 years you get a physical, do it. You can go in sometimes to get a welfare check. You can go down to a local lab and have some tests run. When I go to the doctors, they have a standard set there. I always add C-reactive protein, homocysteine, vitamin D. I add extra tests. I can go to the lab and have them do the same thing. So to me, those are more important tests to me than some of the other ones. Inflammation in the body, that's a low-level cellular problem. If you have low-level cellular inflammation chronically, it's going to create health issues down the road. I see reactive protein will give you a good total body assessment. Most of the time, mine is unmeasurable. It's down at 0.1, 0.2 range that you have to go to a highly sensitive CRP test to get down to well under 1%. Poor diet, that's a hard habit to break. Even harder to break a habit is drugs, alcohol, smoking. Avoiding high risk people or places you're at. Education, awareness, that's one of the things that this show is based on. We don't know what we don't know, so therefore let's go out and learn a little bit. Get a credible mentor. So many books out there people don't like to read. Okay, you have audiobooks, you have the internet, you have YouTube, you have AI. I think YouTube is probably one of the absolute best things out there, but I'm actually seeing a lot of super good information on Instagram nowadays. It's amazing to me. I'm learning almost as much. I'm learning some really interesting things on Instagram that I would never find even with a decent search in some other areas. So that's the direction I'm seeing things move. What can you do? Change. One of the things through your subconscious mind is lower your expectations. Why? Well, your expectations kind of set your happiness. If your expectations are here and they're never met, you're going to be an unhappy camper. There's no doubt about it. If your expectations are here and you're constantly exceeding your expectations, you're a happy camper and you're probably going to accept things a lot easier. So that's helping the mindset. You're helping your subconscious mind make better decisions in what you're doing. But make them incrementally. You're not going to make a big change. I'm going to stop smoking today. Well, that doesn't happen for most people. I'm going to stop drinking alcohol for the rest of my life, not going anywhere, not doing anything, not relying on anybody else's help. That might happen, but cold turkey is not the way to stop a lot of things. So do things incrementally. I always suggest people start with a salad plate. Keep your other plates in the cabinet and just fill up the salad plate. That's it. That's all you get. By about halfway through a plate, most people have a chemical message going back and forth between the brain and the stomach saying, "Whoa, that's enough. I don't need any more." But it comes and goes right past us. So portion control, I think, is a big one, easy to do. Time control. Do you have to eat 3 times a day? It's a hard one to break. Extremely hard. But if you can get past that morning dehydration issue and the habit of having breakfast, whether you need it or not, lots of things are in there. But consider intermittent fasting, consider extended fasting. And the best possible health thing that can happen is the fact that a body has a process called autophagy. And autophagy is a system where the body goes in, cell by cell, cleans out all the debris, all the trash, all the garbage, takes out the items that can be recycled, fixes them, and puts them back into the cell. So now you have a good clean cell with all new operating equipment, and it's doing its job. But if you never fast more than about 18 hours, that system really never gets started. It really starts at about 18 hours and is about 100%, 70, 72, 75 hours. So if you want to do an extended fast once a month, I've been doing that for years and years. It's one of those things that will help you keep your body fully functional because you're improving your immune system, which literally reboots itself every 72 hours during a long extended fast. Your gut microbiome, feed it the things properly it needs. 80% of your gut is your immune system. And so that's super critical if you're going to keep an immune system that's on guard all day long. You want it to be working well. What systems in your body protects you as you age? Well, autophagy is one, your immune system is the other. Go to YouTube. Lots of things you can find on immune system improvement. Lots of things you can find on reverse aging, on autophagy, on your gut-brain connection. What helps the gut helps the brain. What hurts the gut hurts the brain. So your gut is your second brain. Well, your calf, your leg muscle, your calf is your second heart. That calf, when it's working, you're walking, you're exercising, that's pushing blood back up to the heart. So you want to make sure you have a good calf muscle, something that's really and truly helping you function in a better mental, because you're getting blood going through a better physical condition. Longevity. I mean, just so many different things are on YouTube. So take a look at several of them. Pick the ones you think you can do. Pick the ones you like to do. Living long might happen. Yeah, it's possible. You plan on living to, my grandpa lived to 49. My dad lived to 52. That's not true. I'm just picking that as an example. But the same thing of it, my grandfather lived to 99. My dad lived to 91. So, but in reality, you might say, I'm going to make it to 77, 78. That's our lifespan nowadays. But I could live to 95 or 98. And you have to be prepared for it. Our genes have a factor, but epigenetics cancels that. Our lifestyle choices can turn on or off the gene switches in our bodies. Everyone's different. What works for one may not work for another, may actually work better for another. But I've told you how many, keep a record, discuss it with a professional. Prescriptions have side effects, know what they are. Got those little pieces of paper in there. Most people throw them out. I read them. I want to know what's contraindicated. I want to know what can I expect. If you have something, all of a sudden you take a pill and I'm not feeling good for a couple, 3 days. Is that a side effect or is that something else? Maybe it's a side effect of reacting with something I'm eating. So if you know them, you can go to your doctor and say, hey, doc, this isn't working. This is the reason why. Get a new prescription. Habits, our daily habits, the things we do every single day, control our long-term health and our vitality. If you don't want somebody changing your diaper for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years of your life, you want to make sure the habits that you're doing today are going to support that long-term vitality and health that you need. You can control your daily habits just incrementally to start. Something easy to do, something easy not to do. But incrementally do something. If it's just changing the size of the plate, do that for a month, 2 months. That becomes a daily habit. Change something else, just one thing at a time. Make informed decisions and then take effective actions. If you need to talk to a professional, do not ignore them. Go down and talk. We have a standard of care in the United States. Lots of options are available. Technology changes all the time. And sometimes you can't get what you need in the United States. You have to go somewhere else outside the United States. If you listen to my talks in the past on cancer, most people think that they're a genetic disease. I think it's a metabolic disease. We don't treat metabolic disease for cancer in the United States. You gotta go somewhere else in the world to get that done. But the return on investment of the success ratios are incredible as far as treating it differently. But again, that's a location issue. And then, that was my last one. Okay, well, we're 39 minutes into a 40-minute program. Those things happen. I thought I had something on there else, but it is what it is. Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline. I just saw the note, and I didn't realize that, but I'll make sure that I get that one taken care of. And so this week is the aging. My mind is at the end of the show. I can't even think. Okay, we're at the end of the show, Talking Heads. We're going to be on again next week. I wish I could tell you what the topic is. I didn't pick this topic until yesterday. I'm going to get better about that. I really need to have these things lined out in advance so I can do my show a lot better than I'm doing. So I'm going to say, you all take care, have fun, enjoy life, be safe, and take really good care. Learn what you don't know. Take care now. Bye.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.